Hello, this is Gregory Jackson for GrevJack.com. Welcome to my tutorial series on building the framework for an adventure RPG in RPG Maker MZ. If you didn't know, MZ is what the developers officially call it, so that is what I will call it as well. Don't like it? Take it up with them. I originally started this tutorial series in written form for RPG Maker MV on the forums. But since MZ is now released, I thought I would start fresh and keep going from there. I am approaching this as if you, the viewer, have never worked with MZ before. If you are already familiar with MZ, then good for you. I want to make sure that anyone can use this series to jump straight into MZ even for the first time and learn how to do something practical. If you are new to MZ, while it is mine to teach, it is yours to pay attention. As this series progresses, it will be my assumption that you have been following along and understand what I will have already covered. I will not be repeating myself in response to questions, but I will tell you which lesson in this series I will have covered the material in question. So please, in order to save yourself undue frustration, watch the series from the beginning before asking questions. Also, I sometimes tend to be a little long-winded as I prefer to explain how things work, not just give a rundown on the steps involved. I want you to be able to learn to use MZ while providing practical examples. If, after watching all the existing lessons, you feel that I've missed something, then please ask and I will address the matter. As time goes by and we get further into development, I may start using plugins to help with some functionality. If so, I will explain how to get them and put them into the project. But to start with, we will be working with the default resources that come with MZ. We will be designing custom tiles using the MZ resources, so you will need a graphics program that lets you create and edit PNG files. I recommend GIMP, which is what I will be using. I'll be giving detailed explanations for that as well. It's free and very powerful, so go grab it if you don't have it already. The link will be in the description. For clarification, this tutorial series will not teach you how to build a game from start to finish. Its purpose is to explain in a step-by-step method how to set up the framework that you can use to create your own game. I'll be using this same framework to build my own series of adventure quests, and I want to encourage you to do the same if you find these lessons to be of use. At the end of some lessons, I will give homework assignments. These will usually involve you using what I will have taught to set up multiple elements that are done the same way, or similar enough that what I will have taught will be enough for you to figure out. When a lesson following a homework assignment begins, I will assume that you will have done the homework and will proceed accordingly. Make it fun. You're learning to do something that you can use to grow your own vision. Yeah, some things will be repetitive and may feel tedious, but once they're done, and you'll always be able to use them. Well, that's everything I think you need to know in advance. Let's get started by creating a new project. Click File. Then click New Project. This will bring up the New Project window. You can also hold Control and press N to do this if you prefer to use keyboard shortcuts. On this window, Name is the folder name for the project. It cannot be changed once the project is created. Game title is the name you assign for the game, which can be changed at any time. We'll cover how to do that later. Location is the folder this project will be created under. Click the Choose button to assign a different folder than the one that appears by default. Let's name the project ADV RPG. Notice that what we enter in the name field is duplicated in the game title field. While we can change the game title now, I mentioned that it can be done at any time, so I'll show you how later. Let's leave it alone for the moment. Now that we have a project name and a game title, and have chosen the location for the project, click OK to save the changes and close the new project window. RPG Maker MZ will then take a few moments to copy all the necessary files. Once this is done, the MZ editor opens and we can see its main components. The toolbar gives us access to the most common functions we'll be using. The tileset palette is where we will select the objects we want to place into a map. The canvas area is where we will actually draw our maps using the objects we select. And the map list is where we can see and organize all the maps in our project. Let's make a few basic adjustments. I personally prefer using a program's dark mode if it has one, as, for me, it reduces eye strain. If the default visual theme doesn't bother you, then feel free to leave it as it is. I'm still going to show you how to change the theme in case you decide to do so later. Click Tools, then click Options. This will bring up MZ's Options window. In the UI box, click the button under Theme and select Dark. Then click OK. MZ is now using the dark theme. Now, as mentioned, we're going to change the game title. On the toolbar, click the gear icon to open the database. In the database window, on the menu to the left, click the System 1 button. From here, in the field under Game Title, change ADV RPG to Adventure RPG. Really, you can change it to whatever you want and at any time. When you're done, click OK. Now, before we wrap up the introduction to this tutorial series, I want to give my definition of an action RPG. I think of it as a cross between the original Legend of Zelda and the early Final Fantasy games. The Legend of Zelda aspect will be manifest in the form of screen-by-screen map transitions and the presence of a wide number of secrets to discover if the player has the right items while attempting to interact with a trigger event. The Final Fantasy aspect will be manifest in the form of storytelling and dialogue options and the presence of characters that are not just the generic old man, old woman, or merchant types. If you use the framework I am teaching here, you will be free to be as flexible as you wish. You will simply be able to start with resources that can be reused as needed. Once this series is completed, I will make the project files available, minus any plugins that I won't have permission to distribute. You'll be able to download it and use it as a template with everything I will have taught available. I will also produce a separate tutorial on how to use the framework, so if you just want to start building your game, you'll be able to follow that series. But for now, we're going to dive into the nuts and bolts of the process. In this introduction, we've learned how to create a new MZ project, how to change the visual theme for MZ, how to change the game title when needed, as well as this series' overall direction. Lesson 1 is going to cover one of the most fundamental elements of the framework, the screen-by-screen map transition process. For GrebJack.com, this is Gregory Jackson. Thank you for watching.